Today, we're going to dive into a really remarkable ancient text called the Samadhanga Sutta. You can think of it as a 2,000-year-old roadmap, but it's not for navigating the world. It's for navigating your own mind. It lays out step by step how to achieve an incredible state of focus and what becomes possible when you actually do.
But before we get into the details, just stop and think for a second. What do you think is the absolute true potential of your own concentration? We usually think of focus as just blocking out distractions. But what if it's actually a gateway to something way, way more profound?
So, here's our game plan. We'll start with what this powerful focus is, then look at the factors that build it up, and finally, check out the pretty extraordinary abilities it's said to unlock.
Okay, so the text kicks off with the Buddha speaking to a group of monks. He tells them he's about to teach something he calls 5-factored noble right concentration. Now, this isn't just about paying attention better. It's a very specific, layered method for developing a deep, completely unshakable state of mind.
So, this whole journey starts by entering a state called the first jhana. The best way to think about the jhanas is as these progressively deeper levels of meditation, right? States where the mind gets incredibly still and unified, and each level has its own unique flavor.
And everything that follows, it all rests on this first, fundamental step. The text describes this first jhana as a state of intense rapture and pleasure. But here's the crucial part. This feeling doesn't come from anything outside of you. It's the joy that just bubbles up on its own from a quiet mind, a mind that's stepped back from all the usual sensory cravings and mental chatter.
To make this feeling more concrete, the text uses this incredible simile. Imagine a skilled bath attendant making a ball of bath powder and kneading it with water until it's completely saturated, soaked through and through. But it's holding the water so perfectly that not a single drop drips out. That's what this rapture is like. A total, self-contained bliss that just fills your entire body and mind.
So once that foundation of blissful rapture is there, the practice goes deeper. The next 3 stages are all about refining the mind even further, making it more and more subtle, more and more still. So in the second jhana, that initial excitement of rapture kind of settles down into this deep, internal composure, like a deep lake being fed by a spring welling up from within, no water coming from the outside. Then in the third jhana, even that settles into this profound equanimity, described like a lotus that's born, grows, and is completely suffused by the cool water it lives in. And finally, the fourth jhana is this state of pure, bright awareness, where even feelings of pleasure and pain just fall away, like being completely enveloped head to foot in a clean white cloth. The whole idea here is refinement by letting go. Okay, so after moving through these really deep states of stillness, we finally get to the 5th and final factor of concentration. And this is where things shift a bit, from just being absorbed to using that stillness for sharp, clear-sighted investigation. This last factor is really the key. It's what unlocks the full power of all that stillness you've cultivated. The text calls it reflection. This is a state where the mind is so stable and so clear that it can observe its object, or even observe itself, with perfect precision. It's described as being well-tuned by discernment, almost like a scientific instrument that's been perfectly calibrated. And the quality of this observation is meant to be totally objective, totally detached. The text gives a simple example. It's like a standing person just watching a sitting person. You see them clearly, you notice everything about them, but you're not caught up in what they're feeling or thinking. That's the kind of clarity this 5th factor brings to looking at your own mind. So, what's the point of all this? Why go through all these stages? Well, now the text switches gears. It moves from explaining how to do it to showing what's next. And it uses a series of really powerful metaphors to explain what a mind that's been fully trained this way is capable of. First, picture a jar of water, filled right to the very brim, so full that the slightest touch from any direction would make it spill over. That's a metaphor for the mind. It's so full of concentration, so full of potential, that it's just ready to yield knowledge at the slightest prompting. Then the next simile builds on that. Now it's not just a jar, it's a massive reservoir held in by dikes. This suggests not just fullness, but immense, directable power. The mind can now channel its incredible energy wherever it wants, just by loosening the dikes. And finally, the most dynamic image of all, a skilled charioteer with a team of thoroughbred horses, standing ready on level ground
at a crossroads. This represents a mind that's not just powerful, but perfectly responsive and totally under your control. It can be directed with absolute precision to any destination, to any piece of knowledge you want to investigate. And now we get to the payoff. With this perfectly tuned, powerful, and steerable mind, what can a person actually do? Well, the text says this state of mind is the launchpad for what it calls the 6 higher knowledges. And honestly, the list is pretty wild. It starts with things like supernormal powers. Then there's the divine ear, the ability to hear things far beyond the normal range. Then the power to know the awareness of others, basically telepathy, and even recollecting one's own past lives. It goes on to the divine eye, which is said to see how beings are reborn according to their past actions. And it all culminates in the ultimate goal, the complete ending of all the mind's deep-seated impurities, which is another word for enlightenment. So, when you boil it all down, the crucial point is this. According to this ancient manual for the mind, this kind of deep, systematic concentration, it isn't just for chilling out. It's a way to train your mind to become this powerful instrument that's capable of seeing reality in ways that are just far beyond our normal, everyday experience. Which, of course, leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. Are we supposed to take these 6 higher knowledges as literal, supernatural powers? Or are they maybe profound, poetic metaphors for incredibly deep levels of psychological insight, empathy, and self-understanding? The text presents them as real possibilities, leaving it up to us to explore what that truly means.